Dig it.
Slow drag with remedy. The Norman Conquest, the Great Vowel Shift, Grimm's Law. The history of the English language provides insights into its many built-in contradictions. It all depends on how far back you'd like to go, really, and how deeply you'd like to dive into, say, fricatives, shifting sounds, loan words, and inconsistent rules, especially when it comes to verbs and spelling. The complicated and fascinating evolution of the English language comes to nothing, however, if we're unable to communicate with each other. In Pragmatics, Paul Grease has broken down the art of conversation into 4 maxims of what is called the cooperative principles of effective communication. The 4 maxims boil down to 1. Quantity. Give only necessary information. 2. Quality. Make sure that information is good. 3. Relation. Make sure the information pertains to the topic at hand. And 4. Manner. Be orderly and clear with your information. There are many who will argue, of course, that there is far more nuance than these 4 column headings can convey, but I think it's a good place to start. My name's Remedy, and this is an appreciation. This is an exploration of linguistics, language, writing, and clever wordplay as framed by the peerless poetry of the modern-day master, Elvis Costello. Today's slow drag is with Pidgin English from Imperial Bedroom, released in 1982. The songwriting is credited to Elvis Costello. Citing the hard-won wisdom of his lyrics and extraordinary attention to musical detail, the Rolling Stone magazine review of Imperial Bedroom proclaimed that Elvis Costello has made his masterpiece. And while I agree, the review went on to give this masterpiece 4 out of 5 stars. From the Chinese pronunciation of the English word business, the word pigeon was once spelled like the bird pigeon, P-I-G-E-O-N, but is now simplified to P-I-D-G-I-N. That's what Pidgin does. It seeks to simplify the communication process between groups of speakers who are without a common lingua franca. This piece is filled with drive-by cliches. It breaks so many unwritten rules and dabbles in willful mucking about with familiar idioms, yet does so in such a way that many familiar turns of phrases begin to feel novel again. There's a young girl with an old man who's too sick to mention. She'll be turning 27 as she draws her widow's pension. But he couldn't catch a common cold. He couldn't get arrested. Too terrified to answer back. Too tired to have resisted. We're told he's too sick, but we're also told he can't catch a common cold. Yet there's a widow's pension in the offing for the young girl. He's her old man, but is he an old man? Couldn't get arrested means he's unwanted. So far, we have 2 pedestrian expressions that are polished up and placed in a beautiful prong setting. And of course, there's the exquisite consonance of couldn't catch a common cold and couldn't get arrested. These first lines remind me of the movie Brazil. You think you know what's going on at first, but then it goes in a direction that's hard to follow. Who's terrified? Who's being resisted? It's possible to cast both the old man and the young girl into this role and come up with decidedly different narratives. Many hands make light work. Shorthand makes life easy. When he's out on night work, make sure no one sees me. It all ends up in a slanging match with body talk and bruises. A change is better than a rest. Silly beggars can't be choosers. The first of many familiar idioms in this verse. Many hands make light work. is credited to the 16th century dramatist John Hayward and suggests there are many players in this farce. A slanging match, as defined by the Cambridge Dictionary, means, quote, an argument in which both people use angry, uncontrolled language to insult each other. The familiar expression, a change is as good as a rest, bends to this poet's will. The consonance of better and beggar is masterful, keeping its meaning clear while confessing there's a person who wishes to not be seen while someone else is working the night shift. And of course, we've all heard beggars can't be choosers, so to place the word silly in front of it effectively brings a different, more contemptible aspect to a well-worn idiom. You're a fool to mess with someone else's partner, but if it's your only option, well, then. One of the 1,000 pities you can't categorize. There are 10 commandments of love. When will you realize there are 10 commandments of love? I believe, I trust, I promise, I wish love's just a throwaway kiss in this Pidgin English. In the process of searching whether a throwaway kiss is a borrowed historical expression, I found a line out of a 2014 book called Love Letters. Quote, return his feelings. That was how he'd read the meaning behind that silly throwaway kiss? Unquote. And while I can't speak to the quality of this particular writing, I'm not surprised to see Elvis Costello's impact on contemporary writers themselves. I know that in this podcast, I usually use the dog whistle of Elvis Costello lines to entertain myself and other ardent fans, but I refrain from nicking his lines and putting them in my own personal work. If my work gets quoted, I want it to be for something I've written, for something I've said. There are the 10 Commandments, and then there are the 10 Commandments of love, which are markedly different edicts. One seemingly does not include the bit about adultery. I've always had a theory about what the 10 Commandments of love are, and we'll address it in a minute. First, there's an eggcorn I have to contend with. If you're so wise, use your lips and your eyes. Take it to the bridge, she sighs. Take it to the bridge if sighs is what I've always heard. It's a reference to the overhead connecting arch walkways found between tall Lincoln courthouse buildings and their prisons in such places as the famous Venice Bridge of Sighs, constructed in 1600. It's the last place where many prisoners get to see the outside world before they're sent away to prison. However, the trusty Elvis Costello wiki page for lyrics tells us in a quote that it's, take it to the bridge, she sighs. Take it to the bridge is a 1971 James Brown song and a lyric from the 1987 Squeeze song Hourglass. Yet, I'm no closer to understanding why or what she'd request to have taken to the bridge. My instinct is to take the architectural route, partly because of a misquote that has been attributed to Elvis Costello. The quote, writing about music is like dancing about architecture, used to very often be attributed to Elvis Costello. But from his autobiography, Unfaithful Music and Disappearing Ink, he clears up this misattribution. It was a quote by comedian musician Martin Mull that was, quote, repeated so much among our company that it was eventually attributed to me, unquote. In that same passage, Elvis Costello goes on to say that he was more interested in writing about architecture and will leave the dancing to the experts. Therefore, the Bridge of Sighs ticks 2 boxes in favor of my eggcorn. The Hoover Factory and the Quisling Clinic are 2 other buildings mentioned in song. It seems he enjoys a bit of Baroque and Art Deco styles. In the next chorus, there are 3 recognizable idioms, with one slightly exaggerated in the same vein of a change is better than a rest, and a couple other expressions that feel as if they're actual places and organizations. You go cheep, cheep, cheep between bulleyes and bluster, stiff as your poker face, keener than mustard, from your own backyard to the land of exotica, from the true society to neurotica, erotica. The words between bullseyes and bluster sound so natural together, it really does feel like an old adage of sorts. Not to mention how well it ties back to the line slanging match with body talk and bruises. As with a change is better than a rest, we have as keen as elevated to keener, keener than mustard, slotting in nicely with the ER and bluster and poker before it. And while your own backyard is an everyday idiom to express something very near, the land of exotica and neurotic erotica feel like a whimsical place where only the overly adventurous and the moderately conflicted are able to reside. The True Society, as written in 1982, might just very well be defunct now, however, given that the Post-True Society was the Oxford English Dictionary's Word of the Year in 2016. Quote, relating to or denoting circumstances in which objective facts are less influential in shaping public opinion. Unquote. The last verse in this clever rule-breaking piece hits the listener with 2 more cliches before it launches into an impressive list. Silence is golden, money talks diamonds and ermine. Silence is golden as money talks. These 2 idioms are quite well matched, gold, diamonds, and furs. There's a word in Spanish, Italian, and German, in sign language, Morse code, semaphore, and gibberish. Have you forgotten how to say it in your Pidgin English? 7 different languages, and still there's no shared way to effectively convey what's difficult to say. And here it is. Here is where my very childish brain developed its own theory about what the 10 commandments of love are, as the chorus repeats and the song ends with a repetition of these words. P.S. I love you. Simply put, the phrase is 10 letters long. I did say it was from my very young brain where I came up with that at the time, but funny enough, I'm still sticking with it. There's a million ways to not say I love you. Adding it as a postscript turns it into 10 simple letters that are easier to say. Dig it. Again, this has been a slow drag with Pidgin English from the 1982's 4 out of 5 star masterpiece, Imperial Bedroom. In this song, there are no fewer than 12 idioms scattered throughout. Of the 12, 3 are amended to fit the narrative. A change is better than a rest. Silly beggars can't be choosers, keener than mustard. Ermine and German are inspired rhymes, as are gibberish and English. Even 1,000 Pities comes with its own staggering pedigree. It's the beginning of the Virginia Woolf quote, "It is 1,000 pities never to say what one feels." In this song, there is so much borrowing, lifting, and contorting going on that each turn of phrase is placed in a pitch-perfect location, surrounded by imagery and alliteration that makes it take on a life of its own. I want to thank you so very much for finding this appreciation, this exploration of linguistics, of language, and masterful turns of phrases, all framed by the peerless poetry of the modern-day master, Elvis Costello. Please check the show notes for links to the actual song, as well as links to references made in this episode. There's also a companion blog with a transcript and other references for your convenience. Thank you so much for listening all the way to the end. Please get in touch with comments or suggestions or interpretations of your own. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this appreciation, please subscribe, give us a good rating and a review maybe, and share with other language lovers. It's important to support independent podcasts. Thank you. So, until next time, adieu, my little ballyhoo. Slow drag with